Hi, Gloria Lybecker here with Healing You. Oh, I'm enjoying the warmth of the sunshine coming back out again in my neighborhood. I'm also enjoying having conversations with other people. Some of the people that I've had conversations with have been really uncomfortable. And they've been really uncomfortable because some of the conversations that are being had right now are about racism. And what is racism, and whether you're anti-racist or just what does that all hold in it. And it's a lot. And it's something that hasn't been looked at very closely in many conversations. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is slowing down any conversation to really get to the heart of it, to have compassionate understanding whether I agree with the other person or not, or whether they agree with me or not, but to have a heart connection where an exploration and a discovery collaboratively is possible. Not everyone's comfortable having a conversation like that, however. There are some people that are quite biased in their perception, and their perception and their opinion is the only way for anyone to perceive something. So that could be the hallmark of a difficult conversation. When someone feels that uptight about it, that rigid about their thinking, that there's a lack of flexibility or adaptability. On the other end of the spectrum there, you can have conversations with people that just want to agree with whatever you say. And they're wishy-washy. They don't have firm roots in their own values. And they want to be included and they want to belong, and so they just go with the flow of whatever is happening in their environment. Well, I'd like to be somewhere in the middle of that. I want to be able to stay in conversations that may be perceived as difficult, but being able to stay in the conversation by being grounded in my own values and really living from my heart space. When I was younger, I used to avoid difficult conversations. Some of the clients that I work with, they talk about how uncomfortable the conversations are and how they just don't want to have the conversation. They want to leave. And yet, there's a metaphor that I use of a tree. And when you think of the tree of scarcity, this tree of judgment, when we're living in that tree, then our thinking is judgmental. We are labeling people, and we're analyzing, and we're caught up in our own thinking, or we're denying responsibility. We're making demands on other people, and we think we deserve lots of stuff. So that's kind of a privileged way of looking at life. And for me, I know that I'm abiding in that tree when I'm having predominant feelings of anger or a depression or guilt or shame. And I'm making myself wrong or diminishing my sense of self, or I'm making someone else wrong, implying wrongness or judging others. And that can become a real loop, and it can become a predominant pattern that that's just the way you perceive things. It has quite a negativity bias to it. When I can recognize I'm in that mode, in that paradigm of being, I slow down and I come back into my body, and I use my inner modalities to tune into those, all of my different ways as a multisensory being, to begin to sense into what is right now. It can slow down all that internal chatter and begin to feel the sensations in my being and begin to link them into What is that emotional quality, a flavor of energy that's running through me? And so curiosity is a really great tool to use in this process, to get really curious about my own inner experience. And when I can connect it with what I'm valuing, it starts to clear all the clutter, the mental clutter out. And it allows me to open my heart to be curious about others' experience and to be able to stay engaged in a conversation. So what I'm doing when I do this is I'm building a bridge of trust inside of my own self with life. And it's by having that connection with life that it supports me to stay engaged with others in life. So when I can recognize a pattern, I can then slow down and I can begin to tune in to what's really happening. And then I can be curious and I can listen. I can listen to people who speak differently than me, that have different thoughts than I do, and they ask different questions than I do. And I don't need to take it personally or get defensive or scared. I can stay interested and grounded in my own values in order to have an exploration and a discovery and a conversation with another person. I can risk being vulnerable and learning something new. And I can also call a pause and say I'd like to continue the conversation later. And there's no have to have a conversation. I want to give myself permission to also say, well, right now, I'm not open to having that conversation. So if you want to have it, you'll need to find someone else to have it with. And I can set some authentic limits. And I can take care of myself. But the more that I'm learning and the more that I'm growing, the more passionate I am about developing my own capacity to stay engaged in the conversations, especially when they seem difficult, because there's some real beautiful needs underneath there that are needing to be named and acknowledged. And many times they're needing to be named and acknowledged for others that don't have the capacity to do that for themselves. So I want to be able to speak up. I want to be able to name what needs to be named. I want to be able to stay engaged in the conversation. And I want to also promote peace. I want to promote heart connections and mutuality, for there to be mutual respect and mutual care and consideration for all of life. And I want to promote those conversations. And they begin first within each of us. Can we begin to recognize the places where we have avoided having conversations, where we have denied responsibility, where we have denied that we actually receive benefits from others being diminished? Those are important conversations to have with ourselves, with those that our loved ones and our families and our friends, our colleagues. Those are important conversations to have in our world. I hope that you're having those conversations. And if you'd like to explore more opportunities for those kinds of conversations, reach out to me at healingyousanctuary.com. Thanks for being on the journey with me today. Healing you.